It doesn't matter how qualified you are. If you're not obedient to the
Yeah.
call, then you're useless to
Yeah.
ministry. You really are.
Every time that this little boy puts on those glasses, he has this opportunity to be reminded that there's a God who loves him and a God that sees him, that's for him and for his future. And that's one of the most touching experiences from the country I'm in.
If an apple tree dies before it produces fruit, is it not an apple tree? If I go through my whole life and I die and I never do what I was supposed to do, what I was called to do, in heaven, I would be like the fruit tree that never produced fruit.
Yeah.
That I was called to be the apple tree and I never made apples.
Could you imagine leaving everything that you grew up knowing as the truth and something that is a part of every aspect of your life? It's your government. Every single person you know is the same faith. There's really no room for questioning or wondering or choosing something different. And it costs you everything, right? So if I become a Christian, it's going to cost me my family, all my friends, security, and pretty much every sense. Like when we have people who come to faith, people won't hire them. Like Muslim people won't hire them to work in their homes anymore. Maybe if they were cleaners, or people won't come to their shop as much. And so it costs a lot. And the mosque is the place where people go to for help in Senegal. If you need food or you need some sort of help, you have to depend on the network of other people who are Muslim in your same faith. So it's a big ask. I was really struggling with the weight of the call, and I was reading through some of Paul's letters, and it's always like, I'm doing this job because God said, not because there's anything about me that makes me qualified for this job, or there's so many times I'm like, I am really not as smart as all these other people doing this thing, but that's us putting our eyes on ourselves and what we can do, and it's really just what God can do.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Wise Table Podcast. I'm your host, Shaylee Parker. You made it. It's another week. It's Friday or Saturday, depending on how well post went. So I appreciate your guys' patience in that. But I've got a very exciting guest with me here today. This is Breanna. Hi, Breanna. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So I already know what you do, but for the sake of the audience, we're going to pretend like I don't. So go ahead and lay it out. What do you do? What would be the coolest title you could give yourself?
Oh, that's a really good question. The coolest title. I would say the normal title would be missionary. So I'm a missionary with the Assemblies of God. World Missions is the organization that I work with. I don't know, the coolest title might just be that I get to share Jesus with people. I think that's the coolest thing that we can do. So
that's awesome. Yeah. That's super cool. So what's your daily life look like, and where exactly are you set up at?
So the country that I serve in is called Senegal. It's in the country of West Africa. I had never really heard of it before I went, so look it up if you don't know where it's at. But it's on the western corner there of Africa, and I've served there for 2 years. And before that, I was in another country in West Africa for 2 years. So a total of 4 years in West Africa. And daily life, depending on where I'm at, it looks so different in every place. But being in Senegal, I will be going back to work as a compassion-focused missionary.
Okay. What does that mean?
That's a great question. There are so many different things that compassion involves. I always get so excited to talk about it because there are so many different avenues that compassion looks like. So we have our compassion wing in the Assemblies of God for Africa is called Africa Oasis. And I think they're getting a name change soon, but I don't know exactly what it is. Right now, it's Africa Oasis. And it is just an emphasis on empowering our local churches to be able to be the hands and feet of Jesus in their communities. And it opens up opportunities just for them to share So we do everything from water filter projects, water wells, healthcare,
Oh,
like
wow.
seminars. So we work with a program called CHE, which is Community Health Evangelism. So within that, there are so many different lessons. So we can teach our church members on things about malaria or high blood pressure or hand sanitation or building latrines and toilets and things. So there are so many different avenues that it can go down. But basically, what we're doing is we're helping support and empower our local churches in whatever country that we're serving in to be able to look at the community around them and see what are the most pressing needs that our people are facing and how can we meet them as the church. What does that look like? What education can I provide for them so that they can go in and teach the people in their communities? Or how can we serve people, right? How can we love them well and meet those physical needs? Because it opens up when people see how much you care about their physical life, it opens up a door and an opportunity to be able to share about Jesus.
That's amazing. So you're going through education and action.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Do you have any like stories that really touched you as far as personal interaction with any of the people that you've worked with?
Yeah. So, as far as compassion work is concerned, I would say one story that I have loved out of a project that's happening in Senegal right now. We partnered with a ministry called Compassion Link. It's actually in Springfield, Missouri, and they have healthcare workers there that volunteer with them and work with them, and they've put together trainings for different areas. So we partnered with them for an optical clinic. So just basically like an eye exam and giving people glasses. So they get donations from people in the U.S. for glasses at their center, and then they send those glasses and equipment over to us along with people who train. So they came in and did training with just local church members like you and me, right? We're just in our church. So they come in and local church members who are interested in serving in compassion. They're able to train them on giving basic eye exams. So, like, is this lens better or this one? So they go through and they learn this whole process of how to do that with people. And at the end, they'll receive a pair of glasses for the prescription that they need. And I don't personally think very often about not being able to get glasses. I've had glasses since I was young, and it's just a part of daily life, like being able to go get contacts or glasses or go to the doctor. But that is such a luxury in other countries.
Wow.
And just thinking about, depending on how severe your need is, it really impairs your life. So at one of the clinics that we were able to do in the city that I live in called Dakar, in 2 days, there were 270 people who came through for the very first time. And of those people, one of them was a 9-year-old boy. And what they've told me from his story is that he came in and he needed a pair of glasses because he had to stop going to school. So in Africa, a lot of the times when kids are getting to go to school, it's a privilege anyways. A lot of times it costs a lot of money. They have to pay to go to schools, or they have to pay for uniforms and all their materials and things, and that can be difficult. So being in school is a privilege.
See, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like here, I just feel like, oh, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
Even if your family doesn't have a lot of money, you go to school. So
Yeah.
to see school as a luxury.
Yeah, it's a luxury and a privilege, and it really leads to a better life for a lot of these kids. Being able to learn to read and write can lift them out of some of the poverty that they experience. And so it's very important in their culture. Like, if you can get to school, it's an honor for you to be there. It's an honor to your family for you to be there. And it kind of gives some future and potential for the family as a whole to have their kids in school. So he was in school, which was so cool, such an honor, but he had to leave at 9 years old because he was falling behind in his classes because he couldn't see the board to take down his notes. And so he started to not do well in his assignments and in his testing. And if you do not pass the test at the end of the year, you don't get to continue on in the next grade. From my understanding, I think maybe they'll give you one more try to repeat the grade, but then after that, you're just kind of done with school.
Mm.
And
It's not No Child Left Behind kind of
no,
thing.
no,
Oh,
it's not. You really have to earn your place
yeah.
there to be in education, to be educated. And so he had to drop out because of this eyesight issue, not because he wasn't capable, but because his eyesight was getting worse. And so what that means, he's not going home and like playing all day, right? So
Mhm.
he's either going out to learn whatever trade his dad does, or maybe helping earn money for the family in some way, maybe selling small things on the side of the road,
Mm.
working in the family shop. He's going to be working in some capacity.
At 9.
Yeah, at 9 years old. So
Wow.
yeah, that kind of takes a lot of that like childhood
Childhood, yeah.
piece away,
Yeah.
and also just potential for the future. So it was really heartbreaking just to hear that story.
Mm.
But how cool that God sent workers to Senegal to train our local church people. And because God sees every single one of those people who came through our clinic, and he cares about them, and he knows what it would mean for them,
Mm.
a simple pair of glasses to be able to change a future for this little boy who came through. So he got to get an exam. He walked away with a pair of glasses. And not only that, but we also set up prayer rooms in all of these optical clinics. And every single person that we had come through, even though most of them are not Christians, they went into our prayer room and they got to receive prayer from pastors and church members who are filled with the Holy Spirit. And so, every time that this little boy puts on those glasses, he has this opportunity to be reminded that there's a God who loves him and a God that sees him, that's for him and for his future. And that's one of the most touching experiences from the country I'm in related to projects that we currently have going on.
Wow.
Um, that one always really touches my heart, just to see the intentionality of God and how he sees people, and how well he cares for them, sending people from all over the world to come and meet this need.
Yeah. Like of all places, of all people, of all times,
Yeah.
we just look at if we need something, we just go buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, the importance of what you're doing here, raising money or raising awareness or whatever
Yeah.
it may be. And for us, it's like, okay, on average, do you happen to know the price, like the cost of glasses, just one pair, or is that kind of handled within the organization?
So all of the glasses that we give out are ones that have been donated from the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So something that
Yeah.
we just decide we don't even want anymore.
Yeah.
We got an old pair. And
Mhm.
sending those in literally changes someone's life.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's very fun. So when I'm visiting churches, getting to talk about this particular project, I feel like it's such an easy in for people, because so many of us wear glasses. We have glasses that are old. We wanted a new pair. Whatever.
Yeah,
It doesn't fit our
consumerism.
style anymore. So we have tons of glasses normally. I know I have a bunch of glasses
Yeah.
at my house, and they just sit there,
Yeah.
like they're unused.
One for every
Nothing's
outfit,
happening.
girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Nothing's happening with them generally, and they can be life-changing for people across the world. So I've gone to churches and had people like run home really quick before I left and like bring in
Oh.
glasses that they weren't using, so I can take them to the center at Compassion Link, and they like package them, clean them, like read the prescriptions that are on them and get them sent to where they need to go. And these projects happen throughout the whole world. They're not just in my country, but it supports wherever they have these optical clinics at, and when people can send in extra things just lying in their drawer,
Wow.
at home.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Brings a whole new level to one man's trash is another's treasure.
Yes.
That's crazy.
For sure.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. So you've been there for 2 years. You said you were in another country prior to that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was in a country called Ivory Coast, or the French name is Côte d'Ivoire. You might know it by either name or not at all. Who knows?
Fancy.
Yeah. So as before becoming a missionary, I was actually a first grade teacher in the public schools in Columbia, Missouri. So I did not have a lot of ministry. volunteered in my church. That was the
Yeah.
extent of my ministry experience, was volunteering in my church with kids and youth. And so when I felt like God was releasing me into missions, I really didn't know what to do or like what that would look
Yeah.
like. So, but I knew that the church that I went to, that they have an organization that sends out missionaries. So I contacted the Assemblies of God World Missions, and they connected me with different places throughout Africa, because that's where I felt like the Lord was leading me to. And it opened up opportunity. And so the first country that I went to, Ivory Coast, has what's called base camp. I think they're changing the language to launch team pretty soon. But basically, the idea of it is that you go there and you get trained in missions. So you learn language, you learn culture, you learn what it means to be a missionary, you learn how to live a daily life. Like, what does it look like to go grocery shopping? And so you have someone to walk alongside and mentor you in that entire process. And the goal is to have our missionaries just very well equipped so that when you get sent out on your own, that you can do ministry. You know, like you're ready, you're prepared. You're not going through like, how do I talk to people? And like, how do I work with the church? Or, you know, you have some experience under your belt and you've been mentored through it.
How not to accidentally offend somebody.
Yes, which still very much happens very frequently, but how to recognize that, you know, and you get to do it in a safe environment, like with leadership before being sent out. And so the hope and the prayers that we're sending qualified people who are ready to love the churches that God gives them, to empower and to equip, and to be a good representation of Christ, as we're representing him to churches and to the people that we're ministering to, just to, you know, be very prepared and to be ready. And then you also have a community of other people who are training with you and mentors and people that you know you can count on. And it really builds that team and family that sometimes you miss on the missions field. You might be separated from other people, or have only a few other missionaries in your area, and you may not be close to one another. So having that community aspect is really great.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So what's it like for your community? Do you have a bigger community around you, or is it just kind of you?
In Senegal, our team is growing, so it's really exciting. Since I've left, we have 2 different teams that work in my country. So we have one team that is called Live Dead. And so Live Dead teams are really focused on unreached people groups. So a lot of times they'll use business as mission and open up different businesses in unreached communities to reach them with the gospel. So our Live Dead team, they have an English center. And so they partner with actually a church in one of our very Muslim communities. And they partner with them, and they host a English club, like an English center out of their church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it kind of gives value to that church. They're adding to their neighborhood. They're adding like a valuable service there. People can come in and learn a new skill, learn English that helps them in business. And so that draws people in. So that's what they're doing. And then we have another team that's called the National Church Team. And what we're there for is to love and support and pour into the national church.
Oh, nice.
So it's really cool. I don't think I mentioned before, but Senegal is a majority Muslim nation. So most of the people follow Islam. And we have 95% of our population is Muslim.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's Muslim majority there. And so the church is a little unique there. It's not a lot like, a lot of times in America, we see Islam from the Middle Eastern perspective.
Okay.
And so West Africa is a little bit different, and Senegal is more unique. It is a combination of their traditional beliefs, so like more animism or like witchcraft kind of things, is basically like spirit worship, that kind of thing, combined with Islam.
Okay.
So we have like 2 layers of what's happening there.
Is that like intertwined between like what we would, I guess, classify as folk religion or spiritualism with
Yes.
Islam? Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's called folk Islam.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, because
Oh,
they
cool.
combined, that spiritualism, that folk, along with Islam.
Wow.
And they're actually the where Marabouism started. So what a Marabou is basically an Islamic leader who is also like the witch doctor
Like a
type
shaman
person.
kind of
Yeah,
thing?
like the
Okay.
shaman,
Yeah.
like witch doctor kind of person.
Yeah.
And the Islamic leader kind of at the same time. So they're doing both of these practices together. So
Wow.
so spiritually, Senegal is a pretty dark place.
Hmm.
There's a lot of darkness and oppression. There's a lot of fear that really entangles people's lives there. But it's also a pretty peaceful place.
Hmm.
So, of the West African countries, it's one of the only ones that's never had a coup since becoming independent. So,
Wow.
their people are pretty peaceful. They really value highly peace. Like anytime I'll be walking the streets and I'll talk to people who are out. I'm like, how are you doing today? They're like, oh, it's peaceful. Or like greetings
Oh,
have to
wow.
do a lot with peace, like I'm living in peace. Or so it's something they value. So there's not as much like physical persecution between
Hmm.
Christians and Muslims in the country.
That's good.
Yeah, which is really
Yeah.
nice.
I bet
It's
that's nice for
wonderful.
you.
Yeah, it's like it's very great. But there is kind of like this underground, like they charge higher rent to the churches than they charge other
Sure.
places. If you're trying to build a church, the requirements are much higher than if you're building a mosque or, so
Sure.
there's like these little ways where they try to keep the church out. So compassion ministries can really help our churches so much just with the community seeing their value. So that same optical clinic that I was talking about with the little boy who got the glasses, before you do anything in Africa, you go and you talk to the leaders of the area. So even where I live, Dakar, the capital city, 3.5 million people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's big.
it is big. They still have like chiefs of the neighborhood, kind of. So they
Okay.
still follow that like tribal principle of chiefs.
Gotcha.
And so there is a person who's over this area of the city or this neighborhood of the city. And so you go to them and you go present yourself and like what you're doing and how you want to help the community. And they give you permission basically to be there and to be able to do these things. So we did that process. I wasn't a part of this particular ministry event because I was teaching at a school. So a lot of my days while I was there in my last term, I was teaching most of the time. So I missed out on a lot of stuff.
Oh.
But I got to go to a couple days of it when I wasn't teaching. But my leader, he met with him and they invited him, obviously, to come to the first day. And so he came through in the first day of that, of the optical clinics, just to see what they were doing, to see how they were treating people, what was happening. And he was so impressed with what was happening, how it was impacting the community, that he went back and he like told his people like, hey, you need to come like this, like invited his people, and then even came and helped out the next day.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, so this Muslim man is working alongside our Christian people and telling his people, yes, come. And, they have something that can help you. And they're for us, right? And so these compassion ministries can help win favor in the community and help people be much more open to our churches than what they normally would be, like quietly trying to push them out, instead of this helps embrace them and like, you guys care about us. You're maybe not the scary thing that we thought that you were going to be.
Yeah. You're not here just to push out our traditions or disregard what we believe and what really matters to them deeply. Obviously, if you're already entwined with another religion, that obviously matters to you. And so just to come in and be like, nope, that's wrong. I'm right. You need to choose my way or whatever. And so that's amazing to see, like, there is an element to that of, hey, minister to people and use words if needed,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And getting that buy-in in communities is so huge. It makes such a big impact. for our churches.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think with these communities and kind of these, I guess we could call them subcultures
Mm-hmm.
between these different leaders, do you think that helps keep the peace, or is that just not really related to it and that's just kind of the country itself or the city itself where that's just kind of important to everybody?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it's more of like an ingrained cultural
Mm,
desire of the people, um, from what I can tell.
yeah.
Because even within Islam in Senegal, they have 4 different what they would call brotherhoods. And so it's
Okay.
almost like Christian denominations. So like
Oh,
denominations
sure.
of it.
Yeah.
So each one kind of focuses on something a little bit different. You've got like your super spiritual ones that would be kind of like our charismatic movement, like
Mm-hmm.
super
Mm-hmm.
spiritual side. And then there's ones more focused on business or, like the
Yeah.
government or like these different areas. And people align themselves with whichever grouping that they're interested in. So there's even some division among their religious organizations, but they still all come together. So I think it's this just as a people group,
Mm.
Senegal values peace,
Oh, cool. Okay.
which is very interesting. It's almost what I've been comparing it to is almost universalism.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like recently, I saw a post. Ramadan was in March,
Mm-hmm.
and and Lent also occurs at
Yeah.
the same time. So in Senegal, the other biggest religion is Catholicism. So like the 5%
Really?
are Catholic.
Okay.
Um, and so if you say I'm a Christian, they assume that you're Catholic.
Gotcha.
They don't really understand something that's not Catholic.
Mm. Is that accepted better, I guess?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think they just don't understand what you're even talking about if you say Protestant.
Gotcha.
Because like I've said that and they're like, oh, what like what does that mean? Because it's 0.2% of the population
Oh,
in
wow.
Senegal, like less than 0.5%. It's so small are evangelical Christians.
Wow.
And so what happens a lot in the Catholicism as well is that we call it syncretist. So
Yeah.
it's like a
Yep.
combining of the animistic things along with Catholicism as well. So it's not pure
Sure.
that way. So they don't really have a concept for what it means to be something that's not Catholic or Muslim, really.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, it's very interesting. But the post that I saw on Facebook, since those 2 fasts generally happen at the same time, it's like a Muslim man with his Muslim prayer beads and a Catholic man with his Catholic prayer beads shaking hands. And it was saying, like, 2 roads, the same intention,
Mm.
we're together.
Oh, cool.
And so I guess the same intention might be seeking God, like different gods,
Yeah.
but yes.
Yeah.
But so it almost feels very universalist there.
Yeah.
Like all of these roads, we're all seeking God.
Mm.
Um, yeah, depending on who you're talking to, but largely, I'd say that's kind of
Mm.
the feeling is that we're all seeking after God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool, though, because I'm sure that's part of the desire for peace.
Yes.
It's probably also why you get things that are mixed in.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're not looking for, if you got things that are separated, well, that means there had to be division at one point.
Yes.
And if you don't want division,
Yeah.
that might be where we get our mix between spiritualism and Islamic religions and put those together. And the same thing with Catholicism and turning into syncretists, where it's like put 2 things together. So
yeah. Yep.
it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you find them to be receptive of hearing about Christian faith?
I would say that it definitely depends on the relationship that you have with people. I think they love spiritual conversations.
Oh, cool.
So you can get, in my experience in Africa, you can get into a spiritual conversation very easy.
Nice.
And it's almost like for Islamic people, their faith is everything that they do. It's in America, we compartmentalize so much.
Yeah.
But especially if you're in a Muslim majority nation, everything revolves around prayer and the mosque and your faith. And so it's everything.
Mm.
I like to think of it a lot as like when I read the New Testament and we see like Judaism, it was everything, right?
Yeah.
God gave him, it was the law,
Yep.
it was
What you
your
ate, how
church
you ate
life.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
everything. And that's a lot of how Islam is as well,
Wow.
is all encompassing like that. So I find that they're very interested in spiritual conversations, and they are receptive. But it is hard to challenge them to accept something else because because of that universalism, right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's the same. We're really the same. So conversations I've gotten into is, well, we believe basically the same thing, right? That there's one God. And I'm like, yes, I believe that there's one God. You know, in Senegal, they accept a lot of the Old Testament scriptures. Some of them have been changed, maybe like the
Sure.
stories a bit, but like they will honor those. They believe that Jesus really existed, that he really did his miracles, and that he'll come back to judge the earth, but not that he's the Son of God, which is foundational for Christianity and for salvation.
Yes.
In Romans, it tells us like we have to confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in our hearts that he rose on the third day, like God rose him up, and that he is the Son of God. And so that is where the conflict comes. And so when I've gotten to that, like I had a conversation with a guy who worked at the boutique, and he has many Christian friends, a lot of missionaries. I've spoke to him over the years, and he's like, yeah, I've read the tracts and stuff that they've given me. And I was like, yeah, what do you think about that? You know? And it's like, it's good. And, I believe. And then he tries to find the common things that we believe together. And I was like, I agree. Like those things are important. I was like, but what do you believe about Jesus? I was like, because in our faith, that is foundational.
Yeah.
Like that is what's important, is what we believe about Jesus. And he was like, well, I just believe he's a prophet. And so like that's
Pretty common.
Yeah. And so easy to get into conversation. Difficult to change people's hearts and minds, because that is a work of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So every time you just get into the conversation and you open it up and you pray, like, Lord, let this pique curiosity. I think that that's huge. In Islamic faith, they aren't really allowed to be curious about their beliefs and like question at all. Like, is this real? Is this correct? Asking questions is kind of frowned upon. And so I just always pray, like, God, help them to get curious about you. Like, help this conversation pique curiosity, where they ask the next person another question. And then you can kind of get in there and work in their hearts a little more. And so it's a long road sometimes, working in Islamic countries with Muslim people, because it's hard. I mean, could you imagine leaving everything that you grew up knowing as the truth and something that is a part of every aspect of your life? It's your government. Every single person you know is the same faith. There's really no room for questioning or wondering or choosing something different. And it costs you everything, right? So if I become a Christian, it's going to cost me my family, all my friends, security, and pretty much every sense. Like when we have people who come to faith, like people won't hire them, like Muslim people won't hire them to work in their homes anymore. Maybe if they were cleaners, or people won't come to their shop as much. And so it costs a lot. And the mosque is the place where people go to for help in Senegal. If you need food, or you need some sort of help, you have to depend on the network of other people who are Muslim in your same faith. So it's a big ask.
Wow.
And it takes a long time for them to be convinced a lot of times, like that it's worth that step out.
I think that's what's really difficult about, like, even in the States, when you're having conversations with people who you'd be considered kind of like lukewarm, whatever, I find it harder to, I hate to say convince, because it's not up to us, right? We're planting seeds and we're just hoping God, hey, this is to plant the seed. I'm just being obedient in what God wants me to do, and then hoping that takes later. But it's like the ones that are really stubborn for one thing or another, like I've seen it multiple times. We've had actually several people that were atheist and highly intellectual.
Yes.
And they got to a point where they're just like, I want to prove that God does not exist. And so they researched their way through it, and then God showed a lot of things to them, and they ended up becoming really strong Christians in their faith, because it was like they're either completely on, completely off. And I can't imagine how difficult that is when you're speaking with people where it's like, it's great when they're open for conversation. But when there is that kind of like, nope, we want peace. We don't really want any kind of division or pushback. Well, when you do that, I mean, it really is laying everything down. And I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's not going to be peaceful. Like when you make that decision, it's going to cause division in your family, in your community. And so it goes against a lot of just what's so deeply ingrained in them, not only in their religion, but culturally. And it's a hard ask, but Jesus is worth it, you know? And so it's, how do we help them see that the price is worth it? And that there is community. I think that's one of the things I'm really excited about with compassion work, because learning about the experience of Muslims in Senegal, and some of my friends, I was talking about the Live Dead group earlier. So they work with these unreached, really hard to reach populations of people in Senegal. And they've ministered to them for a long time. So I was talking with one of my friends, and it's been 12 years, right? They've built relationship and friendship and shared life with some of the people they're ministering to, done Bible studies with them. Like they've walked them through and had conversations. They're like, what else can we do? You know, like that's just so heartbreaking to people who love you and just want what's best for you. And they're like, what else? Like, what do you need? And their friend is just like, I actually believe that what you're saying is true, but I can't make the sacrifice, you know? So like, God, like, what do we do about that? You know, like we can convince people intellectually that this is what's true. But like there has to be more. There has to be more than an intellectual situation a lot of times for people to come or to feel like they can. And it's like, how do we remove those barriers? And that's what has made me really excited about compassion ministry. Because I talked about some barriers earlier, like losing your family. If you're the only one in your family that's coming to Christ, and losing community, which is huge. I mean, Africa is a communal culture and has been before, you know, any of these religions have come through. Like they rely on each other so heavily for survival.
Harder when you can't be the independent boss babe everybody wants to be over here. You know?
Right? Like that's not working, and you're weird if you're doing that. Like, what are you
happening?
doing?
You're in denial, sweetie. You're in denial.
Yes. And so it's loss of family and community and security. And so as I was praying about if I should stay at the school that I was working with or if it was time, because I knew the Lord spoke to me that I would be doing compassion ministry in Senegal. I was like, is it time for that now? And as I was praying, I just felt like this is. And because this ministry can reach and address some of these barriers. So when we're able to get into people's homes, I talked about an eyeglass clinic where we would go, they come to us, right? So that's one type. But there's what I'm really excited about establishing in churches is where they go out into people's homes.
Oh, cool.
So each like church member is assigned maybe like 5 families in their community. And so whatever topic they're going to talk about, maybe it's clean water. We have a water filter project. And they can take the filter and they are trained on how to take care of it, how to teach families about it, how to teach hand washing, which, seems simple to us, but we teach it to our kids in school. We were taught it. We were taught to wash our hands. And that's not a part of all curriculums across the world. Oh. And so hand washing always goes along with it. Along with the filter training, because a lot of people suffer from illnesses that are so simple and easy to to prevent, so many preventable things. Just because they don't wash their hands well, and they're drinking dirty water. Like 6% of the population in Senegal dies from water conditions that are there. 1 in 5 kids is sick pretty consistently from the water that they have to drink. Even in the capital city where we have like indoor plumbing, running water, it still has to be filtered. Like it's still kind of brown, like when it goes through until and it needs to be filtered out. So most people, you either have to buy filtered water or buy filters consistently. And if you don't have money for that, then you have to drink.
Expensive.
Yeah, you have to drink dirty water, and so, and there's so many ways that we can teach them. Even sunlight can sanitize their water and they don't know, so there are so many different things that we can teach to our church leaders that they can take out to help change people's lives. And so when they get this filter training, they actually go to people's homes and they partner with them and they teach them all of these things in their house. And they're welcomed more into people's homes because they're bringing a much needed resource like clean water. And the filters that we give out, if they're taken care of properly, can last for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's a long time. It saves a lot of money for our family. And so they go into their home. So we're ministering to entire families.
Wow.
So they give the hand wash training or whatever they're doing that week. And then they partner that with something from the Bible, like a story that they're able to tell. And then the next time they go back to just make sure the filter's working right, to make sure they remember how to clean it. And so they follow up with the families. They can tell another story about like how Jesus is a living water. We're always offering to pray with families. So you have a Christian, which maybe a Muslim person hasn't really ever met before, going out to a Muslim home. So they have contact with a Christian. They're hearing the good news. They're saying, hey, the church has resources and ways that they can help us when we're in need. The mosque isn't our only resource anymore. And there's a church that this person's a part of. There's a community there. And so what I feel like, the Lord is showing me is that it helps us. It's going to help them build relationship, minister to entire families. So hopefully whole families are coming instead of one.
Not alone.
So then you have, safety in numbers.
Yeah.
And other people, like when you're struggling in your faith and your family, you have someone else that maybe can help lift you up too. And then you're coming to a faith community and you're not just out there on your own trying to be a Christian, which doesn't really work very well for anyone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
that's tough, even in a good situation, to do that alone. So that's really my heart behind Compassion Ministry. Obviously, I want to see I have a heart for people who are suffering, and we want to. God wants people to have a better life and to not be suffering with illness. And but what He really wants is for eternal salvation, and we can take some of those barriers that make it hard for them to say yes, even when they're convinced of the truth. So that's, I feel like, the Lord's heart behind Compassion Ministry happening in our countries.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I bet you're super excited.
I am. It's fun to be able to talk about it when I go places because it gets me excited again. Especially being in the U.S. for a little while, sometimes you feel like so disconnected from the ministry. But every time that I get to present it and talk about it, I'm like, oh yes, this is cool. It's exciting. This is why we go, right? To see God change and transform lives and communities and see people know Him and His great love for them.
That's amazing. So have you already started doing that? Are you about to start doing that?
Start doing
the compassion.
The compassion. Yeah. So I have been a part of a water filter project in Ivory Coast when I was training. Okay. So we trained in a lot of different types of ministries. So I've seen it done, and I got to a couple days of the optical training, but this will be a new ministry area for me. Nice. So when I was in Ivory Coast, I mainly did children's ministry. And then in Senegal, the last 2 years I was there, I was working in a international Christian school. So I was teaching,
Cool.
which, I had already done before. So
Yeah.
that was really fun. So it's a new area. And I have always felt like the Lord drawing me to work with vulnerable children in Africa. So I'm excited to see what the Lord's going to do with that. But He's really widened my heart to just vulnerable people in general. But I have a special care for our kids, and a lot of these issues really impact them hugely. Like unclean water, it kills a lot of kids. Like adults can deal a lot better with a lot of it than children can. And so these things really affect them. So even seeing how we can create, I'm a part of a team that's really just getting started, missionaries throughout Africa that are coming together to see how can we empower our churches to reach at-risk kids in their communities.
Cool.
So it's just beginning. We're just kind of getting the ball rolling, but that's long term, something I'm excited about seeing come to life. As we all combine, our knowledge and our experiences together, what we can create to help reach vulnerable kids, because there's so many. Africa is such a young country, or continent, really, not just Senegal, but like the whole continent of Africa it's so young. I think I need to find the graphic, but someone was just recently at a children and teens training in Africa, and they had like the average age of each continent. And Africa's was really young, like 18 or 20.
Whoa.
Like most of the people are young. And so like usually at least 50% of the population is under the age of 18 in any country you're in Africa. So
holy cow.
Yeah. They're very young.
Oh
people.
My goodness. Does that have to do with the fact that they are growing rapidly, or because of losing older ages due to health complications or diseases or anything like that?
Yeah. I think part of it is that their families are very big.
Okay.
So yes. So they're very big. A lot of people get married very young.
Okay.
And yes, and then just with the health conditions, what they are, they don't live as long.
Okay.
There are some that do, but a lot of them, even a lot of like men die of heart conditions and things.
Really?
Or a surprising thing to me, I didn't realize how much people in Africa, they struggle maybe with like diabetes or like blood pressure,
Really?
high cholesterol kind of things. And so those types of illnesses are really impacting them. And so there's a lot of areas, easy training and things that you can do on like how to eat, and their food is delicious and seasoned very well, but also, like high in salt and like all of these things. And so there's a lot of easy trainings that can happen just in like, how do we season our food so it tastes good, but it's not so high in sodium? Yeah, because that is affecting your health, and maybe you don't know that, and so helping in those areas too, or like simple things, easy things that we know, but just aren't wide common knowledge all the time. So
it's like we talk about that stuff all the time here. So we just think, well, duh, that's common sense. But the only reason we know it is because somebody up the line took the time to teach us and show us. And it's unique to think like there's so many things we take for granted, whether it's our education.
Yes.
How we handle things. I mean, like I've talked with missionaries that have done everything from conversations about like being with your spouse or being with people versus like even stuff like this, like even just washing your hands, how to eat, doing all these things and how to prepare food. And it's just wild to see like we really are in a good way, extremely privileged to be able to have all these wonderful things. Yeah. But we take it for granted as to we've got a whole world out there. Yeah. Really not that far away. That's suffering terribly. And it's heartbreaking over some things that, I don't know, like it hurts worse when it's preventable.
Yes. Yeah. And it's simple things,
Yeah.
like that can just really make such a huge difference in people's lives. Like one of the things that I brought to mind as you were talking is that our children's at-risk team, one of the ideas we're throwing around is helping parents in our churches understand the effects of technology on
Mm.
on their kids.
Yeah.
And so we had technology a little bit sooner than other countries, and so now we have a lot of information
Yep.
about how did this impact our kids, how did it impact our generations, and what's happening. And we can help with what we've learned, take it to people who maybe they might not have to suffer the same effects that our
Yeah.
kids have had, because we can get to them before it becomes such an epidemic or such a problem, or bring some preventable training so that their kids don't have to go through what ours did,
Right.
because we had a technology sooner and didn't realize what it would do, you know?
Let us be your case study.
Yes. Yes. If we have the knowledge and we've understood it already, like it's simple to share that with other people, and can really impact people around the world, like they don't have to go through the struggle that you did. It's kind of like parents, like they teach
Yeah.
us the lessons they went through.
Yeah.
And when we mentor people, we do the same thing. Like, hey, come
Yeah.
alongside me and let me show you, because I've lived that road already.
Yeah. Really advances things
Yeah.
quickly when you can do that. Like
Yes.
if you can find them, even if it's not over there, like even if
Yeah.
you're here, if there's anything,
Mhm.
like I wanted to start a business, and the
Mhm.
first thing I did was like try to find somebody who'd be willing to take in
Mhm.
little young me who knew nothing and would give them no advantage to anything. But
Yes.
like, hey, can you help me skip the 40 years of how long it took
Mhm.
you to learn? And for someone to just freely give that knowledge is already
Yeah.
hard enough. But if you do find somebody, and I did,
Mhm.
wonderful. Like
Mhm.
really, really wonderful. And if we can help another country by doing that, of
Yeah.
going, hey, here's all the things that we learned in the last 100 years.
Mhm.
Take that. Let's see if we can't advance that in 5,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
just stair step off of that.
Yeah. How can we help you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in your communities with what you're interested, what you want help with.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a huge piece, is we want to help, but we also want a huge part and heart of compassion in Africa is that we work through the local church, and we believe that the local church is who God uses to reach their communities. So it's not about me bringing anything,
Yeah.
it's not about me being able to reach people. It's
Mhm.
about empowering them to be able to do it, and to use their local resources and their stories, how they want to present it, because they know the language, they know their people, they know how to do what they need to do in their communities. So really saying like, what is in your heart, and what do you guys see in your communities that you want to impact and you want to see changed? And then how can I find resources to help you with that? Like, how can I
Wonderful.
resource you?
Wonderful.
Is really what my heart is.
Yeah.
Because I can come in as an American and say what I think needs to be
Yeah.
changed. It's like, but that's not very helpful to them or respectful to them. We want to create dignity
Yeah.
and empowerment, and
And that builds trust too, because it's
yeah,
going, hey, I'm not here. There's no agenda.
yeah.
Well, I mean, there is one, but it's a good one.
Yes,
It's a really good one.
I want you to know Jesus.
Yeah.
But
Apart from that, that's
yeah,
great, because it does build a relationship. It builds a relationship of trust. It's,
yeah,
like I've done a lot of sales job in my life, and listen, nobody wants to hear what you have unless, no one cares unless they know you care.
yes,
Classic.
yes.
And so to be able to come to them and be like, hey, listen, whatever you need, whatever problem you're seeing, whatever hole that needs to be filled. Like I've had a lot of leaders and bosses and sales managers, and the only ones that I really could lean into and was like, this is something I can get into, was one that was willing to serve.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's just absolutely wonderful. I think that's a great
Yeah.
a great way to reach people, because you're showing them that you do care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really my heart. I would never want to go into a place like I'm the expert of teaching you everything. That is not my heart at all. I just want to be able to share Jesus with you and help your life be better. But you're the expert. It's not me. Like I can find resources and I can learn how to teach you something.
Yeah.
But I want it to be what you want it to be, you know, like what's meaningful to you. Yeah, just giving people like the dignity that God gives to them, you know, like they know and they have resources and um, I have a little part to play in it, but it's a small part, you know, like most of it's the Holy Spirit and what they already have, you know.
But that's so powerful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really, really powerful. And it is nice to see that. I don't know, it's just really exciting for me because I'm like, you're going into places and like you said, like not trying to go in and have all the answers, but it is empowering for people to go, hey, you know what you need, and I'm not going to pretend that I know.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to come in and below. You know, and I think that gets a lot more of attention than people who just assume that, well, because you don't know how to wash your hands properly, then you don't know anything else. You don't know anything about your community. You know, it'd be safe to say, like, this might sound a bit extreme, but for people to come in and be like, oh, these people are so dumb, they don't know how to do any of this. No, that's not the case.
Yeah.
They're intelligent and intellectual in their own ways.
Yes.
And just because they don't know certain things for us that would be common sense doesn't mean that they don't have any.
Yes. And I think historically that's how other people have been seen and oppressed, you know, and like that is not what I want to go in and do.
No,
Like I'm not here to do that. Like I know your worth and I know that you have dignity and that you are intelligent. Man, living in Africa, the African people, everyone that I've met, so intelligent, so bright, because they make a life and businesses and things from very little traditional education. You know, they speak multiple languages. Like there's so much knowledge and intelligence, and like, yeah, they're such a beautiful people, and I'm always humbled so much by like everything they can do and what they know, and their lives. I feel like I'm the one who doesn't really know half the time. I was like, wow, I have so much to learn from you. And I think that's the beauty in partnership, right? So I'm partnering with the churches in the U.S. to be able to be there and share the gospel. And I partner with the people in the churches there. Like we teach one another. I have some stuff to teach you, but they have so much more to teach me. And yeah, having that stance, like you are valuable and important and you have what you need. And people have told you you don't. And so I want you to see that God has given you everything that you need and to help bring that empowerment back to them that God has given them. He's given them that. So.
Well, I think you picked the right job. You're definitely your character and your big heart and just the compassion that you have for people and the respect and honor that you have towards them just really goes to show like you're in the right place.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely the Lord. I feel a lot of time I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome as a missionary sometimes.
Sure.
And I was listening to your podcast on the way down here, and I was like, yes. And I love the one that you had, I think maybe it was 2 ago, with your worship leader friend from church, Jess. Was that the name?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and just the really great conversations that you guys had on pride and what that looks like. And I think a really important piece of that was even when you were talking about how insecurity is pride. And that's something in my missionary journey that God is really revealing to me. Because I think that's what I struggle with more than anything. Like, what am I doing here? I'm just a girl.
Who am I?
I'm just a girl that was going to church and I love God. Like,
I'm just a baby.
It's like, wow, I can't believe that God can use me to do all these things, but it's really because it's not about us, you know? And earlier this year, I was really struggling like with the weight of the call. And I was reading through some of Paul's letters, and it's always like, I'm doing this job because God said, not because there's anything about me that makes me qualified for this job. Or, you know, like there's so many times I'm like, I am really not as smart as all these other people doing this thing, you know? But that's us putting our eyes on ourselves and like what we can do. And it's really just what God can do. And if you say yes to it, or not, because I really was just a girl going to church.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that loves God. That's all that I am. And
Yeah.
so it's an honor and a privilege to see how he uses you when you say yes to
Yeah.
things I'd never imagined.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Never
amazing.
imagined.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. And just
Yeah.
to like step into it, because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter how qualified you are. If you're not obedient to the call, then you're useless to ministry. You really are. Like, you as a person are not useless, but you know, like being the worship leader and the podcast host, I struggled with that too, with a lot of this insecurity issues and like, who am I to do this? I'd even having points in my earlier episodes, not that long ago, where I'm having a solo episode and I literally stop when I'm saying mid-sentence and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Is this like, I just feel like I'm pretending, like this doesn't feel like real, you know, and I just feel like I'm trying to pretend to be something that I'm not.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was really cool because I prayed about it a lot. And I did feel like this is the one thing that I really had to stick with. I'm ADD. I bounce around with all sorts of really fun hobbies.
Yes.
And there's just something about this one where it was like, God was like, you told me you wanted to speak and you told me you wanted to do ministry. This is your platform.
Yeah.
This is how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I was like, oh, it'd be cool to be able to, I actually really like public speaking. I love it.
That's amazing.
See, yeah, like a lot of people look at me like, girl, you're crazy. And I do get nervous in the beginning, but I love it.
Yeah.
And I love connecting with people and hearing their stories. And I love sharing stories. And, you know, we have the thing in common where we love Jesus and we just want to share that love with other people. And, you know, it's just such a big drive for me. But he was like, you know, you're going to reach far more people doing this than you ever will in your church stage.
Yeah.
And as a testament to the last episode, thank you, God, because yes, it's very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is crazy. And after a lot of prayer and reflection on that and keep just sending that back to the Lord of being like, okay, like, I don't know if I'm still supposed to be I know I'm supposed to still be doing this, but I don't like how I feel about it. And I don't like that it's uneasy. And it's so weird because typically speaking, my convictions would be if I was ever feeling uneasy about something, I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm to a point of going, oh, why you got to flip the script on me? This is unfair.
Yeah.
But it is. And it kind of came down to like, okay, it doesn't matter if you think you're pretending to be someone. It came down to, I heard an author, I don't remember her name, but she was on a talk show, a Christian talk show. And she said, you know, I really got a lot of convictions about writing this book, write this book. And she's like, but I'm not an author. And she said something along the lines of like, God kind of told her like, hey, if an apple tree dies before it produces fruit, is it not an apple tree? Dang, girl. Okay. Didn't know we were yelling. But
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you know what? She just told herself like, if I go through my whole life and I die and I never do what I was supposed to do, what I was called to do, in heaven, I would be like the fruit tree that never produced fruit.
Yeah.
That I was called to be the apple tree and I never made apples.
Yeah.
It's not because that's not who I am or I'm pretending to be something I'm not. It's just you haven't gotten there to producing what you're meant and called to do.
Yeah.
And so once I started looking at that and going, okay, I feel really insecure and this is really tough for me. And, you know, I don't feel like this is who I am. And then it came down to like, okay, although I don't think manifestation, we got to be careful with that. But I do think visualizing, obviously we do know the power of positive speaking, all these things. Now that's not our savior. That's not the thing that we put all of our faith in. But just to be like, you know what, visualizing myself of, okay, if I were the podcast host, or if I were the missionary, or if I were the teacher, or so on and so forth, if I were that person that was at the level that I would consider to be a respectable, like, that is who you are. You could totally claim it. You know what you're talking about. You know, thousands of viewers every week, yada, yada. if I visualize myself as that person, just start acting like that person right now.
Yeah.
Without your audience, without anything, right? Like if you are that missionary
Yeah.
that does these things, even if you feel like imposter syndrome is creeping in,
Mm-hmm.
nope, I am called to do that.
Yeah.
I haven't maybe produced the fruit for that yet,
Yeah.
but I am called to do that. And eventually that will come through the repetition.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good.
So how can people contribute? Because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people that hear this. It's going to touch their hearts.
Yeah.
And at least I hope it does. And so how can they go for this? I know we've got your
Compassion Link.
Link.
Yes.
Okay.
So Compassion Link is the organization, and I can send you like their website.
Yeah.
And you can maybe, I'm assuming, link it somewhere?
Yes. Yeah. We'll link all the links in there
Yes.
so that way people can access it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Compassion Link is the organization that collects glasses.
Mhm.
So if you have extra glasses and things that you want to send in, that is a great place to send them. And then they can send them on to us.
Can you mail them in if you're not from the area?
Yes. So
Okay.
they have on their website, there's a mailing address and directions about what types of glasses they
Nice.
accept and all of that. So that's a great place. As a missionary with the Assemblies of God, I raise my support for being able to stay on the field.
Awesome.
So we raise what's called like a monthly budget,
Mhm.
which keeps me on the field. So
Yep.
it makes it so I can live there. And then we also raise like one-time gifts and cash budget for things like the airplane ticket to get me there. So things to get me there and to get me back home. And then the monthly budget keeps me there all the time. So if you are interested in partnering with me monthly or doing a one-time gift, it's the same website. So I can get that to you as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So those would be huge. So I'm back in the US until I raise both of those budgets.
Okay.
So if people are interested in partnering with me in the ministry and hearing more stories that I pray God's going to bring out of people's lives being changed, that's a great way to do it. And then also prayer support is really the biggest thing. When I visit places and speak, that is huge for me because 0.2% are evangelical Christians in my country. I mean, what that amounts to is like 31,000 Christians in a country of 16 million.
Whoa.
Like if we're looking just numbers, so like it's not a huge amount of people. And so having people throughout the world that are Christians just praying with us that God will break through. Like we've been ministering in this country in these contexts for many years. And we just need breakthrough. And the missionaries I'm working with that have been there a while, they feel like we're on the edge of it. Like something's stirring, something's going to happen. And so just praying with us that God would break through in people's lives, that compassion ministry would be able to take off when I'm able to get back and get it started, that it would really truly empower our churches and that it would be healthy and empowering and that it would create that in their communities and that people would be able to come to Christ. That prayer support is huge because that's God is the one who does it, and prayer is the way that things really truly change and stay consistently changed. Is through prayer, and so that's a huge thing too.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Well, we'll definitely be praying for you here on the set. But of course, we encourage our listeners to please pray for this wonderful ministry and Breanna, and just that this God does do a wonderful miracle working events that go on here, and that there's just a breakthrough that goes through, and that you reach your financial goals, because that's very important. I mean, it's if we can't take ourselves over there, if we can't be the ones to be there physically, we can be there in other ways.
Yeah.
If we can't be there financially, we can be there in our prayer lives. And so I know without a doubt, I got a lot of prayer warriors in the comments, and they will definitely be praying for you. So
thank
wonderful.
you.
And I'll link, yes, of course. I'll link all of those links in the show notes and the descriptions. I would love to hear any updates. That's the other thing. I would love to know, where can we go to see these updates and see, a lot of people want to give, but they also want to see where that goes.
Yeah.
So where can they go to see this ministry and follow you, and where this is all going?
Yeah. So I have a ministry page on Facebook It's called Breanna Goes to Africa. So,
Very fun.
Yes.
It's a fun page.
It's a very fun page. From my teacher background, when I was creating the name for it, there's a book series called Flat Stanley, and he like goes to different places and countries and stuff. So that's kind of where the naming of that came from. If it sounds kind of silly, I mean, I'm kids. I do stuff with kids. So Breanna Goes to Africa is my Facebook page, and then I also have a link tree that I can give to you, and it has everything there.
Wonderful.
So it has like a video of who I am. It has giving links there. It has a connection card. So if you want to get newsletters and things, Facebook is updated more frequently than the newsletter. But if you're interested in those, I send at least 4 a year of just updates on ministry, what's happening. So the link tree is a great place to go and to be able to fill things out.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Yes. We'll get all those links, throw them all in there. I know people are going to be really just excited to see where this goes, and can't wait to see how far you go and all those things. So
yes,
thank you so much for coming on here. And you traveled a not as far as Africa, but you traveled several hours to be here today. And I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you asked me, I was like, wow, someone wants me to be on their podcast. Wow. I was like, that's so amazing. So thank you for the opportunity, for partnering with me and sharing the story of what God's doing and his heart for people. And I appreciate that. And I'm now a listener of your podcast. I was listening to a few on the way. I was like, this is good stuff. So thank you for stepping into the ministry that God has put in front of you as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, if this episode impacted you in any way, shape, or form, first of all, hats off to Breanna, and I would love to encourage you to help her ministry in any way that you possibly can. I've been following it for a few months now. It's just really incredible to see the work that's being done. But besides for that as well, too, this is also ministry, this podcast, and it's a way for God to speak to people, not from me. Obviously, this is just a vessel. And so I encourage you, as I have before, please do pray for this podcast and for myself as well. I want to make sure that I'm leading well and doing a good job, and that this can be another outreach. And so there's many different ways to minister. And there are 2 people in this room who can tell you so. So guys, would love any of your support towards Breanna or this podcast. Cannot wait for next week's episode. It's going to be a fun one. So stick around. We'll see you guys next time.